As a parent with a son with some physical disabilities, I worry. I've always worried in his early ages what it was going to be like when he grows up and it's time to work and contribute to society. And all through his younger years, I've always been his advocate in school. So I saw how it was in school for me to defend him just in school because the standards in school are challenging for people like Michael. And I knew that the workforce would would be just as challenging. So when Michael said he wanted to start working, we started looking for places for him to work and everything. And the first place he got a chance to work was the BBT Center for the Florida Panthers, and to work for the Florida Panthers as a greeter. So I remember the first time I took him, and I needed to give him his space because dad can't be with you when you're working. So I took him out there and he was in the lobby, and then I just backed off. And then I backed off, and I watched him interact with his coworkers, and I watched him interact with customers. And it was still very difficult for me to completely leave, right? So I didn't. I stayed there for his whole shift until it was time to leave. But I was not in his, I wasn't in his wingspan. Dad was definitely not around, but I could see him from a distance, probably about 50 meters away. And I could tell when he needed a break. I came and I helped him on his break. And then he tells me, I don't need you to help me on my break. I have coworkers that'll help me, right? So he went with his coworkers and went on his own break, and that was it. And then finally he just said, Dad, can you just let me go? So the next time you drop me off for work, can you just go home or go somewhere else? You don't have to be here. So, it was good for me to hear that because he's really exercising his independence. And I know others like to do the same, and we encourage it. We encourage it, working with other people with disabilities and who are very differently abled, and that spectrum is very broad. So you never know what it is for some. So, finally over time, I got to the point where I can actually leave him, go home, come back when it's time to pick him up, and during his whole shift, he's working independently. He knows what time he needs to be there. He's always the first there anyway, and he's the last to leave. He's very punctual. He knows what his uniform needs to look like, and he pays attention at training sessions and briefings, and he's very responsible, and I'm very proud of him. And I'm sure lots of other parents, if they give their kids a chance to enter the workforce, listen, as a parent, it's normal to be nervous, having your child leave the nest anyway, let alone leaving the nest and with the disability and then having to go into this, this is a crazy world that we live in. Although this is the best place to be in the United States if you're disabled, because everything is, not everything, but there's a lot of accommodations that help support those with disabilities. But, it's nerve-wracking. You're just nervous. But you know what? They bleed red just like we do. And you know what? It's okay to bleed. It's okay. You're going to heal, and they're going to learn from it. So I've learned as a parent over these last 27 years with Michael that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall. It's okay to get back up and learn from our lessons. And I just want other parents to take that chance.
What's involved for you as a parent? What does that entail for you as a parent?
Well, when it's time to go to work, we actually get ready 2 hours before his shift. So if his shift is typically around 5 o'clock, so around 3 o'clock, we'll get him in shower, groom him, do all the necessary things, regular hygiene, make sure he's fed, make sure he goes to the bathroom, and then we'll put his uniform on, and we jump in the van and we head on out there. And that way, once I take him to work, actually, I used to take him all the way to the door. Now, he gets out of the van, the ramp deploys, and he rides his wheelchair right down the ramp out of the van, and he rides himself all the way up to the door himself. So I don't even leave the van anymore. Now I'm kind of like just an Uber. And then it's the same thing when I pick him up. When it's time to pick him up, I wait out in the parking lot, and sure enough, he exits the building, and he comes out to the parking lot, and I'm the Uber, and I just deploy the ramp, and he enters the van, and then we go home.
So, hey, Michael, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Really well. So I just wanted to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, um, I'm 27 years old. I have cerebral palsy, and I've been working at the BBC Center since 2014.
Tell me about your job at the B&T Center. What do you do there?
Well, I'm Gabby is a ticket taker, and I'm a leader. So I just tell people hi, thank you for coming to the game.
And what was it like working with him? Like what was your assignments and how did the two of you work together?
Michael normally sits right next to me. I'm a ticket taker, so I'm taking tickets, and he greets everybody who comes in.
We always have him at the South Main doors, like I said, and we'll have season ticket holders for hockey games that will specifically come to that door to make sure they say hi to Michael. I know he also works at the Miami Dolphins, and every time I go to a game, I try to make sure I try to find Michael and say hi to him. You know, he just brings this energy to everyone around him that is just contagious.
Like my first impression of Michael, I was kind of like blown away because he's just so happy all the time, and he doesn't let it bother him. He doesn't let it like make him upset or anything. He keeps the happier side, and that motivates me to be happier.
You know, Michael, I notice he always brings that bright smiles to people's faces no matter what. He brings a positive attitude, which is something that we always want in the building. And I honestly, I don't think there has been a single challenge with Michael in finding an area that he would excel in greatly.
One day I just kind of was like, I'm going to make Michael my friend. And I just walked up and I started talking to Michael, and Michael is just like the brightest person you'll ever meet. I've never met somebody who's so happy all the time.
My brother and mother of Gabby was, you know, this is a regular kid, you know. She probably just wants to keep to herself. So, after a while, I just let it go, and I thought nothing of it. And then a few days later, she's like, you know, I can help you if you need help. I'm like, really? That's cool.
He's very reliable. He always meets the minimum requirement that we have for the staff. We set a requirement per month of events they have to be there. He's always there. He's always on time. He's always communicating with us. And so it's always a pleasure to have him.
You know, Michael just recently started his own company. His own company is a CPR training company. And what that does is, you know, he certifies and recertifies people in CPR and basic life support. And it's called Code Blue. So Michael is trained and certified as an instructor in CPR. So his coworker, Gabby, who was recently interviewed by you, she fainted at work, unconscious. And when she fainted, Michael was not directly next to her. He was probably about 40 feet from her. And he noticed her fall. So he's in his wheelchair, and he drives up to her, and he can't touch her, but he's directing everybody around her because police are in the building, but they weren't on the scene. And people around her, there's firemen there too, but they weren't on the scene. The only people that were near Gabby were her coworkers, but they didn't know what to do. And Michael, with his slurred speech, is directing everybody what to do. He's telling one person to call 911, and they don't need to call one because 911's already in the building. but they have a way of contacting him. He tells them that because they were just standing around. He had to articulate that. Somebody go do that. So he was delegating one person to go contact 911. He actually told somebody else to lift her head, another person to elevate her feet, get her on her back. He was describing the textbook method on how to resuscitate her. And in the end, when paramedics finally got there, they saw who was controlling the scene, and it was Michael. So here Michael is trained at the BBT to be a greeter, but actually Michael carried out the responsibilities of a 911 responder for his coworker, who's actually his partner. And then finally they realized they gave her an IV, and they realized that her blood sugar was very low. So I guess she didn't eat that day. And they all congratulated Michael for a job well done.
Wow.
So talk about things going wrong. It all went right for Gabby, and Michael had a lot to report that night to me after work.
Wow. What an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody knew Michael had that in him. They just thought he was a greeter, and he was very quiet, and he just communicates with everybody the way he does. Never told anybody about his company. And in fact, BBT is actually looking at being one of his first vendors because they need to buy some defibrillators. But it's funny how that all turned around, and they didn't know that Michael had that skill or that training. And
wow.
The cops, the cops applauded, the paramedics applauded him, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Michael told me to do this. Michael told me to do that," and they were all listening to him. They were like, "Well, we don't know if he's qualified, but what he's saying makes sense, so let's just listen to him." And he took a leadership role and was not backing down.
We do have 2 other staff that are differently abled as well.
Mm-hmm. And so what have you found as an employer to be the benefits of that?
It brings a different nature to those around them. I think it brings a different understanding as well. I know one of our other who is differently abled that we work with, she wanted to be in, she had been in this one specific area for quite a long time, and she kind of wanted to make that next step. And so we gave her that opportunity. We gave her that shot, and the supervisor in that area thought she did a great job there. And so it's finding those boundaries that they have and pushing them when they're comfortable as well. And we want to make sure everyone in our organization is comfortable, but we also want to challenge them in different areas so that way they can have those skills and have those assets and learn more.
Sounds like you basically treat them like just about anybody else.
Just like anyone else. I don't think just because you have a different ability, a different restriction. Myself, my hand, I was born with this, and so I've had those challenges. I've had to overcome those challenges, and so I want to challenge other people as well. I look at you no different than I'll look at anybody.
My point is just to have faith. If you see somebody that's definitely able in the workplace, just have faith, patience, and those not making conversation with that person, because for you it might be life changing.
Just treat everyone fairly. Treat everyone how you want them, how you want to be treated. Everyone has feelings. Everyone has their emotions, and you want to make sure that we're not hurting anyone's feelings and emotions, and we want to make sure that they have a great time and they're productive in what they do as well.
Well, the thing with the differently able population is they want to be like everybody else, and they want to contribute. They have a strong sense of purpose, but they just need somebody to believe in them and give them the chance to show that they can. And even if they see, if they mess up, it's okay. Everybody else messes up too. We all get evaluated. We all have, performance reports. Everybody messes up too. So, we can curve a little bit for them and just get them to be involved, because they want to contribute. They have a strong sense of independence, and all we have to do is just give them the opportunity. And if you see somebody that you see that is differently abled in a wheelchair or missing limbs or whatever it is, talk to them. Talk to them like you would talk to anybody else that is working. Just greet them, ask them a couple questions, and that's it. You don't have to be best friends with them, but greet them like you would greet anybody else. And if you're just not a greeter, well then, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you, because you're missing out on meeting some great people. Because one thing that I found is when people meet Michael, and not just Michael, but meet any of the people in our organization, they're all so different. And they all have something very valuable to contribute. And they all have different personalities. Some of them are just so funny. Some of them are witty. Some of them are just unbelievably intelligent. And you just never know, like a box of chocolates. You just never know until you unwrap them and you ask them a few questions and say, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you like to do? How long have you been working here? Or if they're not working there, what if they're just a spectator at an event and you're standing in line with them going to get popcorn and they just happen to be in front of you? Hey, how are you? Where are you from? The typical questions you would ask anybody in regular conversation. And I think you'll be very surprised, and most people are surprised to find that there is a personality behind that face.
Mm-hmm.
And for coworkers that see people with disabilities, reach out to them and be their friend. Help them if you can. You don't have to be their best friend, but treat them like any other employee. You can gossip with them just like you would gossip with other coworkers. And then you can help them, and you never know. They can help you. For all you know, you may pass out from low blood sugar, and somebody like Michael with a disability is going to be the one saving you.